There it is going up. I think that's us. I think so. So welcome again, everyone, and thank you for joining our third webinar in our remote learning series from the XMA Digital Learning team. I hope you've all had a lovely Easter and spring break and that you're ready and raring to go with the summer term. I'm Lee Milligan, if you haven't been on the other webinars, and I lead up the XMA Digital Learning team up in Glasgow for XMA, and I'm a modern languages teacher by trade. But now enjoy working with teachers, albeit remotely at the moment, helping them integrate technology in order to enhance their learning and teaching. Our past two recordings, so the first one we did was Intro to Remote Learning, and then we did another one on collaboration just before the Easter break. They're still available to listen back to, but today I am here with my amazing panel of educators who, like me, are APLS, MIEs, and Google Certified Educators. And we've also got our special guest, Carol, who I believe is an Apple teacher. I'm looking up because she's above me. And because, no, you're not. Oh dear, she will be. She will be at the end of the right. And because we're looking at accessibility today. So we're looking at tools which are available using Apple, Microsoft, and Google products and all their inbuilt tools. So as always, I start the webinar with a question. And the question today is, what does accessibility mean to you? So I'm going to go to my lovely panel and ask them the question of what is accessibility, and with a little introduction of who they are if this is the first time you've been in the webinar. And I'm going to start with Stuart.
That way. How you doing, everyone? My name's Stuart Chain, part of the digital learning team from XMA, and was a primary school teacher myself. Accessibility to me is all about ease of use, ensuring that everyone is included and is able to participate within their own learning environment, and ensuring that the levels of support are there as needed. Thank you.
Thank you, Stuart. And next person up there to me is Nicola. Could you tell me what you do and what is accessibility to you?
Hi everyone, I'm Nicola Patterson, part of the digital learning team at XMA and a primary school teacher also. Accessibility to me is about each individual, no matter what their needs or ability, being able to access the same kind of information just in their own way.
Brilliant, thank you. And Jen, who is going to be on the chat today, so any questions, please put it in the chat. Jen will be there in the background. But for now, Jen, what do you do? What's accessibility?
Hi everyone, I'm Jennifer Dryden. I'm part of the Glasgow team and I'm also a primary teacher as well. To me, accessibility is access. So no matter who you are or what your learning needs are, you can be part of the learning. Thanks very much.
Thank you. And Michael.
Hi there, I'm Michael Conlon. I'm a transformation consultant for XMA in Education. Accessibility for me is all about equity, which is a pretty powerful word really, just to make sure that whoever you are, whatever learning challenges you have, the technology is there to support you to overcome that. And it's also about ease of use. And so when you're watching today's presentation, think not just about some of the learners you have that would benefit from this, but just about everybody who can benefit from these tools.
Absolutely, thank you, Michael. And finally, Carol, first time on our webinar. Thank you very much for coming. Tell us a little bit about what you do and also what's accessibility to you.
Hello, my name is Carol and I'm a teacher at Broomlea Primary School. Our school is for pupils with complex additional needs. So accessibility for us is about enabling our pupils to engage with learning in a world that can be quite confusing for them and a bit overwhelming. We teach the full curriculum at Broomlea, so we need to find creative ways to use technology to sort of hook children in to learning when perhaps they would prefer to engage in things that interest them a bit more and are a bit less conventional.
Thank you very much. So we will come off this and I'll just show my screen here, and you put your webcam off there, Carol, as lovely as it was to see you. Just talk about kind of my story and a little intro as I normally do. If I just get up my PowerPoint there, that'd be great. Hope that's all working fine. Yeah, so before joining XMA, I taught in comprehensive secondary schools and a cluster of primaries in various local authorities. And I can confidently say that no 2 days were ever the same because we all have needs. Now, these were comprehensive schools, they weren't special schools by any means, but all of my learners had their own needs, and it is really identifying and understanding those needs is the first step in being able to address them and give the appropriate support to all our learners. Like my colleagues, I would try anything and everything if I thought it would help my pupils to engage and learn. So from show me boards to seating plans to smart boards and then iPads, etc. The fact that I tried new things even when they failed also helped build a great rapport with my pupils. ICT was always one of those things which all my students loved, from booking the ICT suite to the ultimate, which was getting our hands on a class set of iPads. When we got it right and used the technology appropriately, it was obvious that technology could really be a game changer in helping kids learn in their own way, as well as helping my own daily challenges. So, for example, I remember reading through essays which my pupils had written, recording myself, reading them aloud in German, and then having to burn them onto CDs so that my pupils could then listen to them and they could practice. I mean, looking back on that, it was either commitment or madness, maybe a bit both, but nowadays this seems like madness because the technology we have access to is so much better and easier to use with the inbuilt tools, for example, screen recording. If I screen record something, I can then share that screen recording via Teams, OneDrive, Showbie, even email at the tap of an app or a click of a mouse. Assistive technologies are any devices or services which support an individual's barriers to learning and increases their level of success. So, for example, a pupil who perhaps struggles with written communication but responds well to verbal can benefit from voice notes and instructions. You might traditionally think of accessibility as being about people with disabilities, but making things accessible is just helping all learners reach their full potential. Learners with special complex needs can often struggle in school and become heavily dependent on teachers, carers and families to help them with tasks and assignments. But assistive technology can assist learners work independently, allowing them to experience a sense of ownership and accomplishment, which is so important for building that confidence. There are many different types of accessibility tools available, from low-tech pencil grips to more high-tech speech recognition programs, for example. But in order for any of these tools to be effective, they need to be properly implemented, including training, which is why we're here, well match the individual needs of the learner and coupled with high quality learning and teaching practice. Apps like SeeSaw, Showbie and Teams, which allow teachers to personalise learning based on the individual needs and strengths of their learners, can be incredibly powerful and a useful tool as part of a digital learning for all GIRFEC strategy. And many schools like Broomlea, who is brilliant that they're here today, are discovering that it's a great way to help learners become more confident, independent and engaged in their learning. As well as this, they are finding that tools such as SeeSaw have been extremely useful, especially during this time of remote learning, to engage and support families of learners with additional support needs. And XMA are currently working in partnership with CGI to deliver iPads to all schools in Glasgow, and this is proving to be incredibly powerful in our mission to bring accessibility and equity for all. Broomlea Primary School were also a pilot to deliver more bespoke access to these mainstream devices, and so I'm going to hand over to Carol, who is now going to tell us a little bit about what has been happening at Broomlea. So yeah, can you tell us a bit about Broomlea? You've already kind of said a little bit about it. I was very impressed at the sign language. Can you tell us a bit about the catchment and the needs of your learners and their families and kind of what tools you've been using?
Yeah, sure. Our learners have complex additional support needs, as I said. The majority of the pupils are non-verbal, so they require a lot of support with their communication. All of our children from primary 1 to primary 7 are working within the early level of curriculum for excellence. Our school has about 70% of pupils living in SIMD 1 and 2 areas, and we've got quite a good number of families for whom English is a second language. So daily life is quite challenging for our children and our families, and we have some siblings within the school, so that makes things even more challenging for them. Most of the children have an ASD diagnosis, and some of our pupils have more profound and multiple difficulties. Many of the children have sensory processing issues, so the world can be quite a difficult place for them to understand. And coupled with the repetitive and unconventional behaviours that come with ASD, we find that many of our children just lack curiosity to learn. They don't really see the need for engaging with people, and they often behave in quite unexpected ways. They have big difficulties with communication, so they don't naturally ask for what they need, and making choices is hard. Generally, they use their behaviour as a way of communicating, and we support them to communicate more effectively through what you saw me doing earlier, a little bit of Makaton, picture exchange systems, and other alternative methods of communications. So, as Lee said, we are the ASN primary pilot school for the Connected Learning project in Glasgow. So our pupils now have access to their own iPad, and we are focusing on using these to engage the children in learning and help develop these communication skills. Digital technology can be quite challenging with our pupils. They love iPads, but they've got quite rigid routines and like to repeat activities that they enjoy over and over again. So we need to find ways of engaging them in learning. Quite often they would rather just watch songs or cartoons or videos on YouTube. So we've had to make sure that we are using the iPads with the children in an effective way to support learning and communication. So I think Lee has some slides that she's going to do for me. We've had a focus on 3 key apps at Broomlea: SeeSaw, Book Creator, and Choice Board Creator. Thank you. At the moment, home learning or homeschooling or whatever we're calling it at the moment, it's a real challenge for our families. The activities that we do in school with the children are really difficult to replicate at home, and the pupils aren't always that receptive. They'll do a lesson for me in class, but they might not do it for mum at home, and that's very different for them. So SeeSaw is a really good way to get us in there, and SeeSaw is a good way of integrating these other apps that we use in school to be able to share that learning at home. So I think a lot of people will be familiar with the SeeSaw app, but the next slide just shows we're using it slightly differently, perhaps from some other schools, because we're really just using it at the moment to communicate with our parents. The teachers are communicating daily with parents when we're at school, and we're now starting to work with some pupils who are learning to post work to their own journals, which is quite exciting. We've been using it for about 3 years. Our parents love it and we love it. It's really about family engagement for us. All our pupils come to school either by bus or a taxi, so we don't have that daily contact with the parents. And because our learners don't or can't talk about what they've been learning or what they've been doing at school, SeeSaw has become a way of putting their voice across. Just this week we posted some videos, lots of teachers singing up on SeeSaw, and good morning routines being posted. And we've had lovely comments back about the children running to take the phone from mum or dad, or going to get their school uniform because they recognise the songs. And that's great for us, but it's even better for the parents and the children as we try to provide just some structure and some routine for them while they're at home. We've even been able to celebrate some lovely birthdays with the children while they've been at home and learning there. Book Creator is the app that we have been using to create a lot of content for our learners. We've been able to use Book Creator just to send little videos home to allow the parents to try and have some kind of structure to the day. Our children need a lot of visual support to understand what's happening in their world, and this app is just ideal for creating that content. Pupils are learning to add their own photos and emojis when they are at school, and we're able to capture learning using Book Creator. It's got a really good feature called Read to Me, which is great for the children to be able to access what they've made independently. As I said earlier, the children like to repeat activities over and over, and the iPad never gets tired of telling the story over and over and over again. The ability to turn the books that we've made into videos to share with families has been great during this time of home learning, as we can provide that learning through songs and images, which we know our children respond well to. The last app that we found which helps with accessibility is Choice Board Creator. I had been banging on in Glasgow to anyone who would listen about how this was a really useful app for us, and we were really fortunate as part of the pilot to be able to get access to it for our pupils. It's a free app, which is great, and it's a content-free app, which for us is really useful. Our children find choices really hard. They get quite overwhelmed and they just can't communicate what they want to do. This app supports that choice visually. Anything you have a photo of can be added to a choice board, and what you can see on the screen here is how we kind of make up our activities. Unfortunately, I don't have time to take you all through it today, but if anyone wants to get in touch with me after the session, I'd be very happy to talk to them about choice board. It's really simple. Anything you have in your camera roll can be added to make a choice, and we use it for things like just whether a child likes or dislikes an activity, or what kind of thing they might want to play with, which is also useful at home when they've got all these different things round about them, what they want to eat, places they want to visit, people they want to talk to, and the app just gives audio and visual feedback. It's operated just with a simple tap on the screen for our pupils, which is great for some of our children who have issues with motor skills too. Before school went online for us, we had some sessions with our parents using this app, and they found it really useful. Some of them have put it on their phones to help their children make choices at home, and when they were out and about at the shops or the park, when we were allowed to do all of those things, it was a really good way of becoming a child's voice. A lot of what is termed challenging behaviour for our learners comes from a frustration of not being able to communicate what they need or what they want. Our children know exactly what they need and they do know what they want. They just haven't found a way of telling us yet. So this app really, really helps. And I think the next slide just shows just a couple of the choice boards that we've been using with the children. You can customise them from one tap up to, I think, up to 12 taps now. So it's really versatile for a wide range of children. In thinking about accessibility for our learners at Broomlea and other schools like us, I think it's really about supporting the parents to be confident in using different apps to support communication and engagement. And for us in school, and now in this time of remote teaching and home learning, to provide content for the children that they can learn something from. We're trying with one class at the moment, the home learning codes that SeeSaw have provided, which are great. I'm trying this with my class so that the children can post to their own journal, which we haven't done previously. And this morning I had a couple of messages, some photographs from children in my class that they were able to post up to their own journal. So that's really exciting. I think that the apps that I've talked about are useful in all settings, not just in our very special setting. When I've spoken around Glasgow to colleagues about Choice Board Creator, there's been a lot of interest and discussion around it, using it in nursery and primary schools for children just who are learning to communicate, not just for children with challenges, but for example, those who have additional language, English as additional language, and just are learning how to communicate with others round about them. And similarly with Book Creator, this is an app that can be used in so many settings to develop and encourage creativity and to capture learning. We know that our children would not naturally engage with home learning activities, and it's really challenging for our families at the moment. They don't even really want to use their iPads for learning without adult support. So we have to be quite creative in how we put lessons together to make it fun, to have some music. There's a lot of singing up on our SeeSaw pages this week from teachers, visually appealing, and at a level the children can understand. Often materials for primary pupils are just too complex for our learners, so we're always adapting resources and tailoring them to meet the needs of our children. Our teachers at Broomlea have completely embraced this. We make and we share resources a lot. We still think the airdrop is actually quite magical, and especially now that we're all at home, teachers have come up with some really engaging resources for the children, and it's great to just see the sharing of ideas and the collaboration that's happening in creating resources. As a DLOL, I'm very happy to see all the resources that have been added to our shared OneDrive, and I know that some of our Broomlea colleagues are listening in today, so that's what we're up to at Broomlea.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much, and really appreciate you taking the time to chat to us. And please feel free to add any questions to the chat, and we'll try and get to them because Carol's obviously online. And thank you as well for saying that you chat to anybody about any of these things afterwards as well.
I've already had it. Fantastic.
Thank you, Carol. So As MIEs, Google experts and APLSs, we specialise in the tools Microsoft, Google and Apple have to offer so that educators can innovate and enhance pupils' learning and teaching experiences. There's a whole host of accessibility features that Microsoft, Apple and Google have been working on and have been doing amazing stuff, you know, for a long time. But I'm going to go to Stuart firstly, who's going to tell us a little bit about Apple's offering to make education more accessible. So with a click of a button, I'm going to find Stuart because there's loads and loads of people here now that weren't here before. There we go. Stuart, and you have got control.
Grand. And that should be us. Good to go. Okay, hi everyone, how you doing? I'm going to take you through some of the Apple accessibility features today. There's a number of fantastic ones that can improve your iPad's ease of use, and I'm going to show you some that are hopefully a little beneficial for you today. First one we're going to take a wee look at is speak selection. Okay, this allows any typed text to be read aloud, which can be a great tool for visual impairments or even reluctant or emerging readers. To switch it on, we first go into our settings and we're going to head down to accessibility. On the right hand side, we're going to tap on spoken content and we'll switch it on. We'll notice as well underneath it says a speak button will appear when you select text. Let's have a look at how that works now. Here in Pages, I've got the story of the Three Little Pigs. All I'm going to do is I'm going to tap and hold on the passage, and once it's highlighted, we can see the word speak appears. Tapping on it reads it out.
Then came along a wolf and knocked at the door and said, little pig, let me come in. To which the pig answered, no, no, not by the hair of my chinny chin chin.
Good thing about this feature is now that I've switched it on, it can be used across web pages.
Butterflies have the typical four-stage insect life cycle. Winged adults lay eggs on the food plant on which their larvae, known as caterpillars, will feed.
And I can get various voices to read aloud as well.
That's a fact. Humans share at least 98% of their DNA with gorillas, making us your closest living relatives.
Hopefully you're learning a wee bit with me today as well. If we head back into our accessibility settings, in here I can control the speaking rate. I can make the voice read out slower or faster by sliding that. Or in my voices is where I'm able to change male and female actors and accents. Another wee thing I want to show you, if I just go back, is this highlight content within the spoken content screen. I'm going to switch it on, and what this does is it means that we can follow the words as they're being read aloud. So same again, just tap speak.
Then I'll huff and I'll puff, and I'll blow your house in.
Again, really good for identifying words and just helping reading going along. Another nice little feature that you can use with this spoken content is a spell function. If I just highlight this word here, bundle, I'm going to tap on speak, and then I'll scroll along and actually ask it to spell the word out as well.
Bundle.
And just scroll along and tap on spell.
B-U-N-D-L-E.
Again, a lot of different ways that we can use that feature just to assist with teaching and learning and even reading as well. There are so many more features within the accessibility settings. You can set whole pages to be read at a tap, slowing them down and speeding them up, or even asking Siri to read the whole page to you. Next wee part I'm going to show you is dictation. On the flip side, dictation allows you to speak to your iPad and it will take down your speech and turn it into text. If I head into Pages and I open up the keyboard, the dictation tool is the little microphone here beside the keyboard, the spacebar, sorry. Tapping on this enables the dictation. Hello, my name is Stuart, full stop. And just tap to finish. So it picks up my voice. I can use little shortcuts for punctuation to show it as well. And again, just a nice wee time-saving cutting thing. It's a great tool and can be used across all of the Apple tools, Pages, Keynote, Numbers, as well as the Microsoft apps as well, to name but a few. This is a really handy tool to get students to tell their stories, to give them a voice. Those reluctant children that might not want to put pencil to paper, I'm sure we can all think of one in our class certainly, but also you as a teacher. This can be really helpful for report writing, which could be going on, or even just lesson creating. Getting it to jot down what you want to say can save a bundle of time. Whilst I'm in Pages, I want to just show another way of recording your voice. Now, in Pages, there is an actual option to record audio. This can be handy, particularly if you're asking students maybe to create a lengthy story, or maybe again, if they just don't want to type or write. Here, I've given students a prompt to create a story set in the jungle. Rather than to ask them to write, I can tell them to speak aloud, record their audio, and then drop it in. Again, this is nice because I would be able to hear that student's voice. On the flip side, I could give back feedback to that student. I could tap and add in my own audio and give comments on their story. Think how much more meaningful and personal it will be for your pupil to hear your own voice, particularly in these times. The next wee thing I want to take a wee look at is Reader View. Reader View in Safari is a great way to make a web page look less cluttered and more like a professional text document. Applying this takes away unwanted images, videos, and advertisements, and it makes the web page look a little less busy. Again, this can be great for minimizing distractions. You can use this feature to change the background color, increase text size and font to aid as necessary. To switch it on, up at the address bar, we're going to tap on the two A's that we can see there, and we'll select Show Reader View. This here gives the stripped down version of the site. Tapping on the two A's again, I'm able to alter the font, increase the size, or change the background. If I head back into my accessibility settings on my iPad, I can do this across the iPad itself as well. Tapping on display and text size allows me to do much of the same features, but at the bottom, I can tap on color filters here, and switching this on allows you to add various tints to your iPad. Again, these can be changed to suit. Really good for dyslexic readers and just to add different visuals. A nice feature within this is that it works with your camera as well. So you could use this as a viewer and it'll put a blue or a yellow or a green tint and you can view things through that. Last thing I'm going to show you is guided access. Guided access limits your device to a single app and it lets you control which features are available. When turned on, you can ensure that a pupil stays locked on a specific app and won't be able to switch out without a passcode. Essentially, it locks them in and they can't leave. Let's have a wee look at putting it on and how it works. In our accessibility settings, we're going to tap on guided access. And we'll switch it on. We'll see underneath that it says triple click the home button to begin. Let's see how that looks then. I'm going to go back into my jungle story here. And the home button, I'm just going to triple click 3 times. You'll see it will say start guided access at the top right. And then tapping that, it's asking me to enter a passcode. Pop in a passcode and pop it in again. And that's it enabled. Essentially, this means that now I am locked into this app. I can't leave it, but I can use the function of it just as normally. I can add text, I can type, and do all the things I would normally do in Pages. But what I can't do is leave it. This is a great way of having children stay focused on their task. If I try pressing the home button, it tells me guided access is enabled, and I can't come out. I can't put the iPad to sleep or change the volume. To switch it back off, just triple click your home button and it will ask for the passcode that I set at the beginning. Tap on end to finish. And that's it. There is a ton of useful accessibility features within Apple. Why not take a look and have a go yourself? Thank you.
Thanks, Stuart. And I love that these tools are inbuilt into the iPad, so there's no special app needed. You just have to go into settings, have a look at what's in accessibility. And although you showed us what you can do in Pages, once you get used to what you can do in Pages, for example, the same features apply in Keynote and Numbers as well. So some really great stuff. Guided access as well, I've been using with my little boy Thomas quite a lot, because I give him the iPad to do something and he'll be off on YouTube next, so we'll come into something. So thank you very much. Nicola is going to talk to us about Microsoft now, because Microsoft have got some amazing tools as well, Immersive Reader being one of them. So I'm just going to change presenter on to Nicola, if I can find her. There we go. And Nicola, you are now in control, hopefully.
Thank you. Yes.
Yeah.
Hi again, everyone. I want to talk to you today about some of the incredible tools that Microsoft have to ensure equitable access for all learners. One in particular is Immersive Reader, and I'm going to focus on how you can access Immersive Reader in Teams, OneNote and a document such as Word, which allows the children to have that better experience of reading. So Immersive Reader supports and improves comprehension, encourages independence, very easy to use, and it looks the same across all of these tools I've just mentioned, which makes it easier to navigate. It can help to increase fluency, it builds confidence, and it offers text decoding solutions to support learning needs, for example, dyslexia. And like I say, it can be used across many of the Microsoft ecosystems. So what I'm going to do is show you how that works. I'm going to pop into my Teams. So I'm just using Teams through the browser just now, as you can see here. And I've collated everyone's responses from a lesson that we've made up today. And it's all of the responses the children have sent through a homework task about the Egyptians. Now, for some learners, that is a huge chunk of text to start to break down and decode. And in Teams, we have tools that I didn't even know were there, and when you really take the time to explore them. If you use Teams, you'll know if you hover over a message, you'll see the little reactions that you can have for a message, a bit like on social media, you can thumbs up or give it a love heart. But in the more options icon there, the 3 dots, you can find Immersive Reader. And when I click on that, or if you're on a tablet device, when you tap on it, it takes you into a new window where you are able to see all of that text just displayed in a different way. At the bottom of that screen, we have got the voice settings. So if I just open up the settings, you'll see here you can increase or decrease the voice speed. I'm going to leave it where it was. And you can also select from a female or a male voice. And if I just pop down to the first sentence there and tap play, you'll hear that sentence read back to us.
I have collated everyone's responses and have made a top 10 facts for everyone to read over.
So for pupils who struggle to engage in that text, they can listen to it instead. The great thing I really enjoyed seeing there was each word being highlighted as it's being read out to you. We can make that look much more inviting, a bit like what Stuart was showing us with Reader View on a web page. We can personalise this page for ourselves as well. So if I pop up to text preferences, those 2 A's there, I can increase the text size, and I can also increase spacing just by moving that slider and popping that little button on, and I'm still able to scroll through the text to view everything that's there. So much more appealing to my eye now. I've got spaces there, and the letters are looking nice and big for me. I'm going to change my font, and here we've got themes. So again, if your learners are accessing their jotters or textbooks or reading books using a plastic overlay, this is just the same. So I can put a colour on there and make that much more accessible for me if I'm if I've got any visual stress. Source formatting down at the bottom, I'm just going to leave that on. All that does is keep the format of the original text. So now that it's looking nice and personalised to me, I can start decoding and understanding that piece of text. And here I can go into my grammar options. The first thing I'm able to do there is I'm able to show the syllables in each word. And if I just pop that menu away, you'll see that I have my syllables broken up there. Now, if I choose a word here, so I'm going to choose everyone, I'm going to tap on it, and I can hear that being read out to me as well.
Everyone's.
Okay, and if I tap on that word,
Collated.
I'm able to hear each word being read individually. Now, if I was unsure of what a word meant, I can also click on it, and some of the words are loaded with little pictures to help us understand the meaning of that word. So again, another fantastic tool that we have there with Immersive Reader. I'm going to pop syllables off, and the other thing that I can do is look at parts of speech. So you can choose your colours if you wish, or you can leave them as they are, and you'll see when I just clicked on nouns there, nouns have come on and all of the nouns are shown in red. That would be the same if I had verbs on, adjectives and adverbs, and if I have some on, some off, you don't have to use them all. We can also show labels, and you will see the nouns, verbs, adjectives, labels there above each word. So another tool to help children become more independent with their understanding of that text and how they are accessing it and making sense of it all. Just going to pop all of those off there and pop over to the next menu, which is reading preferences. So that's the little book there. And for some learners, seeing all of that text at the one time is a little bit too much. So we can switch on something called line focus. And what that does is it lets us focus on one line of the text at a time. And you'll see over at the right-hand side, I can scroll through my text as well if I want to have a go at reading that myself. And if I tap on play.
The Egyptians settled in northeast Africa, and that's where the country of Egypt is today.
Then I've got that focused, following each word, and I'm focused just on that one line of text. You can change that between 1 and 3. It's not letting me do it today. For some reason, it's disappeared, not playing ball. And also, you'll have noticed when I clicked on some words, you were seeing French for that. That's because Translate has been switched on and I had chosen French. And if I put document on just there and come back to my text, let's scroll down a little bit, you will see that my piece of writing now has been transformed into a modern language there, which is French.
J'ai rassemblé les réponses de tout le monde et j'ai fait un top 10 des...
And it's a very realistic accent we've got there as well. If I tap on a word, I will see and hear the English and the French.
J'ai. I.
And we've got a picture prompt there as well to help us understand what that means. So wonderful tools that we have all in this immersive reader. Now what I want to do is just use a little arrow to come out of there, and it takes me straight back to my teams. Now if we come down to general here, we have got a class reading materials in a OneNote as well. And if I go to my class notebook, I just want to show you where you can find that immersive reader. So when you are in OneNote, you go to View, and Immersive Reader is right there for you. And what it does is it remembers all of the settings that you had originally chosen for yourself. So you don't have to go through all of those menus every single time you want to use Immersive Reader. And just using that arrow to pop back into the original format of your OneNote. Again, if I'm using a Word document, either online or the desktop feature there, I've got some modern languages here. Again, I tap on View and into Immersive Reader, and it takes me straight back into my personalised workspace. So such a fantastic tool. Really great accents, and it's a nice fluency when it's being read back to you. The other thing that I want to show you, if I pop back to that Egyptians topic work, no it's not, it's modern languages, is I have got a little bit of French there for my class, but thinking about your families with English as an additional language as well, perhaps like Carol was saying, sharing work between families at home, for them to be able to access it may not be easy to do that in English. If you are using Teams, you can hover over a menu and the message and then tap on translate this time, and you will see that that French passage has now been translated into English for me, because that is the native language I've chosen to use on there. So you can adapt that in settings for yourself. Again, another fantastic tool. So that's Immersive Reader and being able to translate your messages in Teams. There are so many tools, as each of us are saying as we go through, so much we could share with you, but that's just a snippet just now, and I hope that that's given you a few ideas to be able to go away and use them. Thank you.
Yep, absolutely. Thank you, Nicola. And as a modern languages teacher myself, I absolutely love the translation feature. It isn't always 100% accurate, but it is pretty damn close. It's got really good over the years. For anyone who is a modern language teacher there, j'ai is obviously not I, it is I have, and I just wanted to correct anybody there before anybody puts it in the chat. But yeah, it is really, really good. And also, as a teacher that at one point I had to teach Italian, I'm not an Italian teacher, I was always like 3 pages ahead, and using that to actually dictate or to actually talk back in the Italian pronunciation was a lot better than my Italian pronunciation. So it's a really brilliant feature. So yeah, Michael finally is going to show us the amazing stuff that Google has got going. So if I just change to Michael, I don't know how much time we're going to have for questions, but hopefully you're asking questions in the chat and we're getting back to you. Michael, if you should be in control now.
Okay,
there we go.
Can everybody see my screen? Yeah, there we go. Fabulous. Good afternoon, everybody. First of all, I'd like to say thank you to my good friend Louise Jones for providing me with some of the content for this today, looking at accessibility for all. And this, what I'm presenting to you just now, is Google Slides. It's a fantastic presentation piece of software. You'll notice some tools appearing in the bottom of the screen here as I'm presenting. We'll come back to those later. But I can swiftly present and move through the slides. What I'm really going to be talking about today is the technology that sits around Chromebooks. Chromebook is a fantastically powerful device with a wide range of accessibility features built into it. Some of the features I'm going to show to you are also available through the Chrome browser that most of us have on our Macs, PCs, etc. But most of the content is going to be focusing on Chromebook, which we think is one of the most powerful devices you'll use in the cloud. So let's look now at some of the features on accessibility. The accessibility features on a Chromebook can be found in the bottom right-hand corner. There's a little man who's the accessibility feature icon guy, and there's a whole host of options there for him. If we look at the accessibility features there, we've got things like select to speak, dictation, full screen magnifier, lots of options like that, and I'm going to walk you through some of those options this afternoon very quickly, obviously. The first one within a Chromebook, if you want to increase the size of the entire screen, that means both the browser address appears bigger, plus the contents of the browser appear bigger, then you've got a really nice, simple, straightforward Control-Shift+ to increase everything on the screen and zoom right in, and then Control-Shift- to decrease. And that's available on the Chromebook for you to use to get that magnification level that you need, especially for typing in web addresses. Lots of web address bars are tiny little writing, and you want to get past that and be able to see what it is exactly as you're typing. Within the Chrome browser, as well as on the Chromebook, you can increase the content and the size of the content that appears in the browser window. So that's just a Control+ and Control- to do that. Sorry if you hear some background noise. We've got a little whirring dinosaur outside with my 5-year-old. And so one of the things that I really love is this ability to switch on, the ability to highlight the cursor as you're moving it around the screen, and to highlight the caret that appears when you're trying to type in text, and any boxes that you're going to be using, drop-down lists, as you can see as an example there. In particular, the mouse focus, putting that little circle around the mouse so you can always see what it is, really maintains young people's focus on what's happening on the screen, and that circle will fade out as you're beginning to do different tasks, but a really lovely, lovely feature. Another one that lots of people like is an increased size of mouse cursor. Sounds very, very simple, but it actually is really powerful. And what I said at the beginning of our session was, think not just about the learners you have in your class and how these accessibility features might be useful to them. Think again about yourself and to other teachers and to everybody that uses a Chromebook. These are ease of access features as well. They just make all of our lives just a little bit simpler as we're trying to engage with technology. So that large mouse cursor option there is really good. We then have a high contrast mode, which is a great feature of Chromebooks. This was, you begin to see this across lots of platforms, this night mode feature you'll see in Windows 10 devices and Apple devices. But this is a great feature built into the Chromebook because some users do prefer that high contrast mode in terms of their vision. Really easy to switch on and off using Control, Search and H to do that on a Chromebook. We also have an on-screen keyboard, and lots of Chromebooks have got touch screen facilities. And for those of you with particular motor issues, perhaps it's easier to use a little stylus to type into the device, or your finger just using touch rather than trying to get hold of keyboard presses, for example. You can also use handwriting to enter text into the device. And so I find that I've used this a lot when I've been using my touchscreen Chromebook, for example. Makes things an awful lot easier for me. Moving on, we want to look at audio. Now, if you've got particular hearing issues, then one of the things that might affect you is stereo information coming to you. Using mono audio, you're going to get the same sound through both speakers. So if you've got a particular issue in one ear, you're going to miss some of the content. What we want is for that mono audio to support you. We've then got closed captions, and I'm going to give you a little demonstration of closed captions with Google Slides. This is a fantastic feature, really useful to young students at home who are following what you're trying to teach them in a remote environment. If I hover my mouse at the bottom, you see my options to move backwards and forwards and slides appear. But if I choose captions, I can have captions appear on the screen live as I am speaking. So I'm just going to make sure that the text position of these words is at the top and that the size of the writing is large. And then I'm going to switch captions on and read something. Okay, so now when I'm speaking to you, what you should see at the top of the screen are the words that I'm speaking being displayed on the screen at the same time. For any users who may have limited hearing in one ear, there's a mono audio option to play the same sound through both speakers. Whew. Isn't that fantastic? I'll switch that back off again. Now, Google have been at this a long time, dictation, voice recognition, and it was really powerful. In fact, if we just jump off and show you a Google Doc, the Google Doc, I've been using Google Docs for a long, long time, and my favourite by far is going into tools and looking at voice typing. So Stuart intimated earlier on there, using speech and voice typing for writing reports. I'm a really slow typer, I'm a two-finger typer, so voice typing is really, really great for me. So just switch that on, and as I start to talk, I can start writing my report. And for young people who've got barriers to learning in terms of writing, getting that pen onto paper and moving that hand, this is fantastic for them because they can get the ideas and the knowledge that they have without the frustrations that they would normally have by having to write it down. So I'm speaking to you today in my study at home, and I have a young 5-year-old with me, and he is doing his very best to make as much noise as is humanly possible. And so there you go, there's that really nice example of how we use voice typing. Of course, I can also highlight that text, and you probably saw there on tools, just above voice typing, we have translate document. We've got many students who, of course, have got English as an additional language. So when you're communicating with them, whether it's a report, whether it's advice, whether it's feedback, we can just choose the language of that child. Let's go for Greek and then translate that content. All of this translation is done in the cloud, obviously, but it does happen exceptionally quickly. Let's go back to our presentation and I'll carry on presenting from there. So Select to speak, like you'll see in the iPad on Windows 10 devices, really nice feature. Highlight your text, choose select to speak, and the words that are, as they are being spoken, will be highlighted as you're moving through. So for English additional language readers, those with dyslexia, trying to support them as much as we possibly can. We can change the speed of the speech. We can change, one of the things I like on this next slide, we can change the voices. And in particular, when I was working with some EL students in Glasgow, what they wanted was voices which sounded like the other voices they had around them, not American voices, but Scottish voices that surround them in the classroom. And you can do that through the Chrome accessibility settings. The Scottish voice of Rona and other children's voices, in fact, are all there available to you for when you're using that speak option. Chromevox, which is a feature of all Chromebooks, which will speak the screen out to you, can also be connected up via USB to compatible braille displays. So what we want you to recognise is that these devices, like the Chromebook, can really go deep into the different range of possible needs a young person might have. Some people forget about really simple stuff like being able to bookmark sites as an accessibility feature. Young people sometimes can't type in quickly web addresses, especially if they're really, really long. So being able to create a bookmark for them makes life an awful lot easier. And it doesn't matter if they move from one Chromebook to another. When they sign in, it'll bring all that stuff across with them. We can also pin tabs on the Chrome browser. You can do this in any device. When you pin a Chrome tab on the browser, that means you don't accidentally delete it. I know many of us have accidentally deleted Windows when we don't mean to. There are other third-party options out there. Across Scotland, we see things like Read and Write being used an awful lot to support readers and learners. Very popular. Screencastify is a way of capturing the screen of your Chromebook. It's a really nice feature you can download as an extension onto your Chromebook. And that means you can go on the free version, you can download and create a 5-minute screencast, and you can use that for a whole host of reasons, for feedback to users, for Makaton sign feedback. Really important that you have different modes of talking to your students and sharing learning with your students, and students can do the same back for you. They can show you what they know using a tool like Screencastify to capture what's going on the screen. Even further and deeper still, at Broomlea, for example, we're looking at accommodating some of the communication issues. We do have non-verbal communication tools that are all available on the Google Store. For instance, this Cricksoft Clicker apps, which again are really popular across different sites. If you wanted to learn more, there's on the Google for Education Teacher Centre, there is training in there for tools for diverse learners, and I'd urge you to go and have a little look at that. And that's me. Thank you very much. Just another reminder there then that what we can do is we can spend some of our time perhaps thinking about our learners and also ourselves when we're looking at accessibility.
Thank you very much. And I'll just pop this back up. See my screen okay? Basically, Jen has been doing an amazing job in the background answering all your questions. I hope you'll agree. So there's not many questions that need answered, but by all means, stick some stuff in the chat and I'll go back to it in a minute. But yeah, nowadays the team and I do a lot of sessions with teachers to kind of try and empower them to try new ways of teaching using these assistive technologies to engage young learners in their learning experiences. And it's great to see, and I kind of think Michael touched on that a little bit there, it's great to see teachers becoming the learners as well for a couple of hours and thinking about the tools that they can use. And also remembering what their strengths and abilities are. And the ideas when we plan and design these CLPL sessions are very similar to when designing for younger learners. It's just making as much of the content that you're delivering as accessible as possible. And if you design lessons for people that are, I suppose, at the edges, everyone will benefit. So, for example, you design an activity which differentiates, which is a flexible pace of learning, allows for collaboration, it's progressive, variable, you're giving verbal support and feedback, as well as written, and you're giving ongoing assessment and allowing for reflection. And using these digital resources, then everyone should really benefit. It's not just about, accessibility should not just be about this whole idea of you know, only those with disabilities. It's not that at all. Everybody has a need. In the past, for example, I remember having to give or get pupils to go back to a support base and ask for this bulky laptop, and then they'd have to cart it back to class. And that was already putting them at a disadvantage, not exactly building confidence. Now laptops like Chromebooks, Windows 10 devices and our iPads are kind of, yeah, they're becoming so mainstream and so many people have a device. I mean, I say this carefully as we still need to address the challenges for those who don't, but so many establishments are now investing heavily in these devices and now need to use them appropriately to get the best out of them. I love that so many pupils with or without additional support needs now have much better access to devices, and since every learner has different needs, this means that everyone can benefit and no one is separated from the rest of the class. The ultimate goal of having a device for every learner will completely change learning and teaching, and as a teacher we need to adapt to the times and the needs of our young learners so that they can continue on from education having been given the best possible start and opportunities. But something else that me and the team are very, very passionate about is also empowering you guys as teachers to get the very, very best out of your time, and you know, just things like reducing workload, being able to access things quickly, you know, doing your reports by dictating them rather than typing. If that is quicker for you, do it. You know, you don't have to type things out or write things out anymore. Use these tools so that you can get the best out of your kind of experiences in the classroom too. So I don't know if there is any more kind of chat. Let me see. Just 5 minutes left, basically, is what I'm being told. If you want to learn any more about any of these features, I'm hoping that in the future we'll put on more kind of, you know, like a Microsoft kind of webinar on some of these features, or a Google one or an Apple, so we can talk a bit more in depth about these features. But for now, Apple Teacher, you can see up on the screen there, I've got a little QR code if you want to take a screenshot even, has got a little course on Apple Teacher on accessibility features. The MEC, Microsoft Education Centre, has also got an accessibility special education course you can get 500 points for. Google, Michael talks about a little bit before, whole host of other courses there. And SeeSaw also, if you're looking to use SeeSaw, they've also got a help centre. And I don't know if you can see down there that I've actually got some courses on how to get started and also with remote learning. So loads of stuff there that you can look at. Also, just to let you know, that the XMA School Store is still open for business. Crazy times, but we are still open for business. So if you are looking to purchase any devices or look for any training or talk about anything we've talked about today, please get in touch. We can deliver direct to your home, and basically just talk to one of our team about more about that. Basically, there is our phone number, there's our email address. Please follow us on Twitter as well. The XMA Learning at XMA Learning is the training team, and we are XMA is the XMA Twitter feed. So we'll be posting there about any future webinars. And again, just get in touch with any questions you've got, and yeah, we'll get back to you as soon as we can. So for now, I think the team and we can all put in our wee webcams and say bye to you all. Let's see all your pretty lovely faces again. There we go. Right, are we good for time? 2 minutes to go. So everyone, if you hadn't already had a cuppa, go and grab yourself a cuppa, go outside, enjoy the sunshine, even get some wine. And yeah, thank you for joining us. Bye. Thank you.